Hey, James Paxton, thanks for winning the game over the weekend. Now scram. Man, baseball can be a very brutal sport.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, I'm begging you, just call me, Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a long time. This is my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and this is the year I'm doing double duty, because if you like what I'm doing it 5 days a week here and 5 days a week at Locked On A's. So we're doing some very interesting shows on Locked On A's. I have a show coming up later this week on Locked On A's where I made a trip to Sacramento and tried to watch a game on a July afternoon in the stadium in Sacramento where they are going to be playing. Note the word I said there, tried. It wasn't a buying a ticket issue. It was a sitting in my seat issue. That's a little preview for an upcoming episode, and hope you enjoyed that one. Hey, today's episode of Locked On MLB is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. Follow us at Locked On MLB. I'm on Locked On MLB Pod, on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And by the way, I want to apologize. I've had some technical issues on the show recently, and the first time the show got booked the other day or uploaded the other day, it was only the first segment. I don't know why. So no one answered the question because I didn't post it until much later. But I'll get to the trivia question at the end of the day. I alluded to this, that James Paxton won a game for the Dodgers over the weekend, helping the Dodgers secure their sweep of the Red Sox. And, Paxton's had some ups and some downs. He's had some very, very good starts recently, and has had some pretty rotten starts. But he's a major league pitcher, and every once in a while I'll give you a good outing. And the Dodgers have an absolute all-star team on their disabled list, or the injured list, I suppose it's called now. Yamamoto and Buehler and Kershaw. Some of them are coming off the list, but you would at least Paxton's been able to stay and give him a start every 5 games. So their top pitching prospect, River Ryan, was coming up from the farm, and they needed a roster spot. So they told James Paxton right after winning that final game against Boston, kick rocks, you're DFAed, bye, scram. And the reason I bring that up, I felt that could be kind of strange. It's the Dodgers don't strike me as a team right now that can afford to throw away a lot of pitchers. I understand it's a roster situation. I understand that the peripheral stats of Paxton are really concerning, but they also don't know what Buehler is going to do when he comes back. They don't know what Kershaw is going to do when he comes back. You don't know what Yamamoto is going to be when he comes back. Maybe keep him around. Is there some other roster move they could do? Could they make someone do the proverbial Rodney Dangerfield? Ow, my arm! I think I broke it. Either way, that's what they did, and I think there's going to be a feeding frenzy because there's so many contending teams that are going to want to have who need a major league pitcher in their rotation going down the stretch. So I found that to be we're going to get into a little bit of some of the trades that I think should happen a little bit later in the show. But I thought it was an unusual move by the Dodgers. Who knows? Maybe they know better than me. River Ryan had a terrific debut. He did not allow an earned run. He allowed one unearned run, pitched into the 6th. Can't ask for better than that on a debut. Blake Snell remembered he was Blake Snell and pitched well. Allowed just 2 runs over 6 innings, but it went back and forth. It became a bullpen game, and Los Angeles wound up winning that 3-2. So the Dodgers have won 4 straight games in a dramatic fashion, and they're kind of dusting themselves off proverbially. And well, you know what? There you go. Maybe that's what the Dodgers needed, because they stumbled into the break, and then they won 3 dramatic games against the Red Sox, a dramatic game last night against the Giants. The Red Sox have lost 4 dramatic games, including an agonizing back and forth game in Colorado, and the Red Sox blew 2 extra inning leads, and wound up dropping that game 9-8. And they've now lost 4 in a row. And look, I didn't think the Red Sox were a playoff team going into this year. I don't want them doing anything crazy, any big trades or anything like that. I think they're developing a nice team, and I think they should be aiming to spend big money in the offseason. But yeah, I have a feeling the carriage is turning into a pumpkin a little bit there. But the Yankee fans should be encouraged that Juan Soto came up big in the afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about the Yankees later, but he came up big, and with a pair of home runs. Rodon pitched well. Bobby Witt Jr. Nearly hit for the cycle, got hit by a pitch, and I think Salvador Perez was going to murder the Diamondbacks in the process. So good for the Royals. The Royals are back in a playoff spot, taking advantage of the Red Sox just absolutely collapsing, and the Detroit Tigers. I picked them to win the division, and the Tigers have played very well recently. They've won a bunch of games recently. They played hard against Los Angeles, and they're playing well against Cleveland. They're beating good teams. And last night it was another game where Skubal was pitching for Detroit. Now, Skubal let up a ton of hits. He let up 10 hits, but he only allowed 1 run. And Detroit wound up winning that game. And we're at the point in the year where it's kind of like, yeah, I don't care about how you win. You just got to win. You got to make up lost ground. And I got to say, Skubal is clearly going to be traded. There's no way I have a better chance to be on the Tigers rotation after this week. But if this is going to be Skubal's final game, then for Detroit, then good on them. But I can't help but wonder if they're thinking, wait a minute, we're probably going to be pretty good next year. Should we keep Skubal? This is when the seller's market kicks in. They're going to get a lot for Skubal. And they got teams with big prospects who they could fork over for Skubal. So I think it's going to wind up being the right move for them to do. And we're going to be talking about some of the teams, 2 of the teams that should be looking long and hard and kicking the proverbial tires on Mr. Skubal going into these next few days before the trade deadline hits. This episode of Locked On MLB is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Now, look, I talked about this, but I love the trip I took. I took a great baseball trip, went to Buffalo, and I'll say it, Buffalo, beautiful city. Then I went to Syracuse, saw a game with the Syracuse Mets there. And then I went to Cooperstown, had a magical couple of days in Cooperstown. And each time I stayed in the ideal place through Booking.com. They have all sorts of places you can stay all across the United States. And think about the variety that I had on my trip. I was in beautiful downtown Buffalo, stayed at a beautiful hotel right in their vibrant downtown. Then in Syracuse, a nice safe hotel right nearby the campus. And then in Cooperstown, a fabulous bed and breakfast, which was walking distance to the lake and to the museum. They've got it all for your summer travel this baseball season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, including your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or on the Booking.com app. Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. Let's talk about our little friends we have over there at FanDuel. I love sports, I love it so much. I never want them to stop because the playoffs of the NBA and the NHL wound down, and we haven't kicked in the Olympics yet. We get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I like them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. Visit FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Where's your hub for getting your sports news? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, I'm having a bunch of tech issues again. You have to forgive me. It may be time for me to spring for a new computer. Call me crazy, but this is just happening way too much. We need to reboot it, and a lot of people want the Yankees to reboot. If you read Yankee Twitter and you catch the Yankee podcast and everything like that, the doom and gloom in Yankee land is intense. Well, the Yankees won this afternoon. They beat the Rays pretty handily. And with that, they are tied for the most wins in the American League. Let me say that again. It is July 22nd, and only two American League teams have 60 wins at this point, the Orioles and the Yankees. And it's nothing but doom or gloom in Yankee land. They need to fire everybody. They need to do this, that, and the other thing. And I get it. No one's getting excited for a division title, even though in the last decade or so, the Yankees have won the division title twice. Well, right now, they're only a game and a half behind the Baltimore Orioles. It's not like the Orioles are running away with us. And it's not like the Orioles are making the AL East their own. They've dropped 6 of their last 10 games. The Orioles have not looked like world beaters. And there's all this talk and fuss about how awful the Yankees have been. And I've contributed a little bit to that fire. We're talking about Cashman and Boone. I've been talking about them for years. But here are the teams with 60 wins in all of baseball. Baltimore, the Yankees, the Phillies. That's it. The prohibitive favorite to win the National League pennant, the team with right now the best winning percentage in the American League, and the Yankees. That's it. There are 3 teams with 60 wins. And it's nothing but doom and gloom and fire everybody, cut the team, blow it up, start again. It's a strange, strange thing. Now, I do think the Yankees are vulnerable. I do not think the Yankees are going to win the pennant. I don't think they're going to beat Baltimore. But they're sure hanging around, and they're capable of having a good run. Cole's a good pitcher. Yes, Heal's been actually pitching better recently. Cortez and Rodon have not been pitching well, but what if they get a Paxton? What if they make a deal? What if one of the Crochets or the Skubals or one of the teams wind up heading over to the Yankees? The idea of them catching fire and doing well is not out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, people got on me for saying maybe the Mets should be sellers at the deadline because of what a great year the Mets are having. The Mets are 2 games above 500 teams for the final wild card spot. Meanwhile, the Yankees have tied for the second most wins, or tied for the most wins in the American League, and are tied for the second most wins in all of baseball. It's crazy, but I do think they need to get, I think a Paxton would actually work out well. He pitched for the Yankees back in 2019. And I think they should also trade for McMahon in Colorado should be their chief target. What they need is a infielder who is not an automatic out. Meanwhile, the Orioles, for the second straight year, need rotation help. Now, it's not as bad a situation they had last year, but they really need to have that depth. And there's all this rumors that Skubal of the Detroit Tigers is going to be heading over if the Orioles can let loose of some of their prospects. And I said this last year. I meant it last year. I mean it this year. The Orioles cannot be precious with their prospects. The Orioles have a window of opportunity to win a pennant this year. And I understand if they don't want to trade Jackson Holliday. Jackson Holliday's only 20 years old. He's already made it to the major leagues. He didn't play particularly well his first time out, but he seems like a can't miss prospect. Maybe it's because I'm 52 years old and I've seen a bunch of can't miss prospects whiff horribly. A bunch of players who people thought, oh, we can't possibly, not in 1,000 years, consider trading for this person or that person, because that would mean we'd have to part with this unstoppable, untouchable prospects. Yes, there have been instances of, I watched the Hall of Fame situation with all the introductions of the players this weekend, and lo and behold, you saw Ryan Sandberg, who was a minor leaguer toss-in a trade, or Jeff Bagwell, who actually wasn't there, but I mean, he was a Hall of Famer, was a toss-in a trade, or John Smoltz, who was there. But, those are the rare things. The Yankees didn't want to part with Jesus Montero because he was supposed to be the next Miguel Cabrera. And, could that have been the key to acquiring Cliff Lee or some other big ace that was bouncing around from team to team in the early 2010s when the Yankees were still primed to win a pennant and maybe even another World Series? And Montero, they eventually traded for Pineda. But, I mean, there have been so many times when you see players like, oh, this is a can't-miss prospect, and they turn into Matt Laporta or Kyle Drabek. It's a cliche to say prospects are suspects until they can prove it, but you can't be too precious when a window of opportunity is right now. That's why it blows my mind that the Yankees, who have some desperate holes they need to fill, are like, well, should they trade Dominguez? Should they trade this? Yes. You can develop another outfielder. You may not develop another situation like right now where the American League is up for grabs. And last year, the Orioles were so precious with their prospects when a bunch of quality pitchers were ping-ponging back and forth that it probably cost them a chance to get out of the division series. Well, Skubal is now tied with rumors to the Orioles, and the rumors do not include Jackson Holliday. If I were the Orioles, I would say to the Tigers, take 3 players. Take 3 players. Because I have their top prospects as listed by MLB.com in front of me. Their top prospect is Jackson Holliday. Fine. You're not going to trade away Jackson Holliday. They have Samuel Basallo, 19-year-old catcher, first baseman in Double-A. You have Kobe Mayo, a 22-year-old third baseman in Triple-A. Enrique Bradford Jr., a 22-year-old in High A, and Connor Norby, a second baseman in Triple-A. Now, you will notice there are a bunch of, right there, I just listed off 3 infielders, Holliday, Mayo, and Norby. All right? You will also notice that they already have an infield of Ryan Mountcastle, under 30, Jorge Mateo, under 30, Gunnar Henderson, under 30, Jordan Westberg, under 30. Ramon Urias is the old man of the bunch, and he is, he's 30. I mean, they're already the team that's filled with infielders. So if the difference between getting a Skubal, who may be the difference between winning a division or not, maybe winning a pennant or not, is someone named Kobe Mayo, I don't care if Kobe Mayo turns out to be the next Ryan Sandberg. They already have a bunch of infielders in there anyway. And what you can do? You could develop another infielder. You could develop another bat. You can draft another infielder. But you may not be able to draft this situation where the Yankees, while good, are vulnerable. The Red Sox, while good, are vulnerable. The Blue Jays are underachieving, and the Rays are teeter-tottering. And who's the other great team in the league? Is it the Astros? Well, they would be formidable, but right now they're tied for first. Is it Seattle? Not the way they're playing. Is it Cleveland? Yeah, when people think of can't-miss teams, they think of Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland's a very good team, but so was Baltimore last year. This is a chance for them. It's a chance for the Yankees. So don't be precious with your prospects. Goodness sakes, you have an opportunity to do something remarkable. Don't make your whole, well, we've got to make sure this young player can be picked up and do what you can get someone else. You can draft someone else down the line. First things first, you got to win now. Passion, patience, drive. All of these are the qualities that you need to have a championship team. The formula that makes championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's talk a little bit about our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's number one fantasy daily sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you versus the numbers. All you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for Prize Picks, and you'll get a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. With Prize Picks, in the end, it's really that easy. This is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Now it's available on the Amazon Fire in the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. You know, I was looking at the Hall of Fame inductions over the weekend, and there are two kind of Hall of Famers. And without Henry Aaron there anymore, without Frank Robinson, without Willie Mays, you know, it does feel like there's some missing elements to it. They were going through some of the Hall of Famers, even some of the ones who I wouldn't necessarily have voted for. You know, Harold Baines shows up, a couple other people show up. I don't know if I'd have them on my ballot, but hey, they had wonderful, wonderful careers. They're worth, let's honor the past. And, you know, you had the Johnny Benches and everyone show up there, and Jeter and Rivera. And then you had lots of players who are wonderful, wonderful players and who I think are absolute Hall of Famers. Scott Rowland, Fred McGriff, you know, Larry Walker, Barry Larkin. No, Hall of Famers all. But then you have that sort of that next level, the people who were the best players at their, you know, of their era. Mike Schmidt is certainly that there. And, you know, Jeter was a great player in his era. But it is that thing that, excluding a lot of the players from the PED eras, has taken away that little bit of, wait a minute. Yes. You know, McGriff, Rowland, absolutely. But the best players aren't in here. And it isn't because of PEDs. It isn't. We know Ortiz was linked to something. His name came up with a dirty test. We know that Pudge Rodriguez was linked to Balco. You know, there are people in there with very strong PED ties, and a few that are, let's face it, really obvious. All right. I'm not saying I excuse PEDs, but at the same time, at some point, why don't you just say you could include it on the plaque, or you could only reference to the early parts of the numbers or something, or only take the best of the users. Um, but it is, in the end, it really does boil down to, did you like the player or not? People liked Pudge Rodriguez. People liked Jeff Bagwell. People liked, Big Poppy. People who were likable and cuddly and everything, who were linked to PEDs left and right. And it's A-Rod's turn on the ballot again. A-Rod is a Hall of Famer. A-Rod put up unbelievable numbers. And if it was at an era where there was lots of juicing going on left and right, he was the best. And has he been punished? Well, he got suspended an entire season, and that undoubtedly prevented him from getting 700 home runs. So you don't have to worry about him being on the 700 home run club. He finished with 696. He was the best player of his era. When people asked, was Derek Jeter the greatest shortstop of all time? My response was always, he wasn't the best shortstop on his infield. Derek Jeter's a Hall of Famer. Derek Jeter's a top 5 all-time Yankee. Alex Rodriguez is the greatest Yankee third baseman in their history. There's no one comes close. Not Greg Nettles. Nobody else comes close. And he picked up the Yankees and carried them across the finish line in 2005 and 2007. If he has anything less than an MVP season in those 2 years, Yankees miss the playoffs altogether. And oh yeah, they win the World Series in 2009 because of the clutch hit after clutch hit and dramatic home run after dramatic home run that A-Rod hit. Yankee fans, how would you like to have no World Series since 2000? How would you like the 04 Red Sox to be the last, that was the last time, you saw the last time you were ever the defending American League champs? And you'd be sitting there going like, oh my God, the Red Sox have won 4 World Series since the Yankees last appeared in a World Series. The vitriol to A-Rod by, he was just interested in himself. Yeah. He's the greatest third baseman in the history of the Yankees. And again, I'm not going to besmirch Derek Jeter. I'm not going to be one of those people. He's a Hall of Famer. He belongs in there. But there's talk of like he would have done anything to win a championship. Yeah, except move over to another position, let the better player play there. A-Rod was a better hitter and a better fielder than Derek Jeter. But it was A-Rod who had to move over. And he put together 12 seasons with the Yankees. 12 seasons for a combined 900 OPS. 12 seasons where he hit 351 home runs. 12 seasons where he hit more than half of his 3,115 career hits. Put him in. Next year, you have a couple of ones. You have Ichiro, who was his teammate briefly with the Yankees. Who do you have also of the team? You have, in terms of the first years, you have CC Sabathia is on the ballot, who I believe is a Hall of Famer. You have A-Rod and Ichiro. And Manny Ramirez